Hello everybody. As you can tell, it's raining outside, and figured that I'd go out there and enjoy it for a little bit. And I don't really know this moment in time or what kind of video this will be. I'm just going to kind of wing it. But one thing I would like to do is work on my flint napping, or not flint napping, but my navigator's pouch. It's a flint and steel and char cloth. I'd like to practice on that some more. Okay. I got this tucked away in my navigator's pouch, like I said. And I also was kind of going through my stuff and I found a knife. And I don't have a clue who made this knife, to be honest. I've had this for several years, and I know it's Montana made. For the life of me, I couldn't tell you who made it. And so I figured I'd take this out and play around with it a little bit, and see what I like about it, and just kind of test her out a little bit. So it's kind of in store for what I have planned so far. Other than that, I really don't know at this time, like I said. So I'll stop talking and let's get on the road and go have a little bit of fun. See you guys in a bit. Bye. As you guys can see, there's a deer behind me. Not that uncommon, especially here in Montana. It's really nice to see them. As you can tell from the other clips that I have, I've seen quite a bit of wildlife actually today. There's the deer, the crane, geese. Saw a few robins. This is the part that I love the most of being outdoors. You get to see the wildlife. Get to see how they react, what they do. I'm not very far from my house, but even if I don't go very far, it's still well worth it. Being able to see the wildlife here. And like I said, it's only a deer, but wildlife is wildlife. There's not much else that I think you can really see around here. Maybe a few river otters if you're lucky. Maybe squirrels, but we'll go ahead and go back on our adventure and leave her alone. That little guy blends in pretty well. Like the naked eye, the only way I was able to see him is from him fluffing his feathers out. When he sits perfectly still like he's doing, he blends into the rocks real well. I mean, I can barely even see him right now. The reason why I can handle is because he's moving his head. Just looks like another big rock. There's another one about 25 feet to the right of him. Just a little bit closer. Let me see if I can... Oh, the other one flying away too. So this is what I'm kind of playing around with for weather-wise. It's died down quite a bit. It's not raining like it was earlier. Earlier it was just insane. I think you'd be out there for 2 minutes and you would have been able to take a shower. But that's what I get to look at. It's kind of spitting here and there, but not like it was. And that's what's coming in. right over there. We had thunderstorms earlier. Hopefully we get them back again. I'll try to zoom in if I can. Yeah. Hopefully, hopefully you guys can see that. That is actually the South Hills. As you can see, it's just pouring down rain over there. And where I'm talking about is right there in the middle. Right there. So I'm going to keep on my journey for a bit. If I see anything of interest, I'll videotape it. Hello everybody. Hopefully you guys can hear me. So this is how I'm dressed. Got my canteen right here. This is what I was talking about. I just have it on my belt buckle, or my backpack buckle. And go ahead and put this back on. And of course I got my 3-day assault pack. It's pretty light today. I don't really have much in there. So I got my navigator's pouch right here. I don't know if you guys can see there or not, but it's right there. And on this side, got my knife. Okay. And for walking around with this knife, I really do like it. Just for the walking aspect of it. And on the way over here in the vehicle, I had it, you know, on my belt loop. And the nice thing about it is that it's pretty much flush with the sheath, so it's not up high, it's not jabbing in your side at all. It's perfectly fine. And that's one thing I've noticed with the Pathfinder tool, or the bush tool. It kind of does ride up a little bit on the sheath, so it kind of does jab me personally on the side. And this one I can, you know, bend over, go all the way down, just like this, just kind of move around, and it's not poking me on the side at all. In fact, I completely forgot it was there for a minute. I'm going to turn the camera around real quick. Hopefully he stays there. And that's what flew right behind the camera. I'm gonna try to set this up, so bear with me, guys. Hopefully I don't scare them away. Bear with me, guys. Gotta reposition the camera a little bit. I'm honestly surprised he hasn't moved at all. Those are some bushes. Oh, he left. Actually, yeah, I made too much noise. He flew away. Oh, sorry about that, you guys. So anyways, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but the rain's starting to pick up now. And the wind's kind of picking up a little bit. But anyways, so there's the knife again. Probably a little bit better picture. And I have no idea any information about this. Like I said, I don't even remember where it came from. I just remember that it was from Montana somewhere. So I figured I'd find a place to kind of rest for a bit, kind of play around with it once I can. So hopefully you guys can hear me all right. So, but if I find anything else before I take my little break and stuff, I'll videotape it for you guys, so stay tuned. And I apologize, this video is kind of rough. A lot of the images that you're seeing, I wasn't using the tripod. I was just using freehand, and I am pretty shaky. And so anyways, we'll go back on track, so let's go, you guys. Alright, so there's another close-up of the little hole that bird came in. That's roughly about 7 feet off the ground. And I think he's in there to stay until I leave, so we'll go ahead and go back on our trail here. It's amazing what you find when you're actually looking. Alright, so funny story. Over there's the path that I was on. Just a little creek. Over about, say about 100 yards or so, way down over there. Creek gets a little bit narrower, about 4 feet or so. And there's a log that was kind of halfway through. So I figured, well, you know, I'll come over here where I'm at now because I thought it was going to be dry. And long story short, I kind of fell in. You can tell I'm pretty soaked. It goes all the way up to my knee. That side's not as bad. But what happened was that the log, of course, was slippery and lost control, and I kind of fell in. Not quite fall in, but put my foot in there anyways. I was hoping to be dry, but so anyways, I come over here, and to my amazement, I've never been over on this side before. There's actually a half, I'm not really paying attention about this, so don't worry about that, half rotted out log. Goes all the way up there to where that little kind of cave kind of thing is. It's not really a cave, but it's just a little indent. But over the years, the erosion from that is going down the log. You can't really tell because of the the leaves, but this is soil. It's going down. There's a few rocks. There's a rock right there. More rocks towards the top. So I thought that was pretty cool. I've never seen anything like this before. But anyways, this is the destination I was planning on going. So I thought it would be drier. As you can see, it's all wet. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but the rain's coming down pretty good right now. And it's going to keep coming down a little bit more. So I figured out what I'd do is just kind of wait it out for a little bit, even though I am kind of a quarter soaked. I figured I'd just wait it out for a little bit. So, it's a little update. Alright guys, so I just want to kind of show you how wet it actually is here. It's been raining for the past couple days. I'm going to try to do this left-handed camera. See all that water? It's just soaked. So, as you can tell, I'll stick this back in the sheath real quick. Please bear with me. Alright, so as you can tell, it's still raining. It's been about a half hour, and what I was planning on doing was kind of scrape the top stuff off here and sit on a dry piece of it, but I don't know how far down I'd have to go to actually get dry wood, because this is soaking wet. And again, I'm still on the other side of the path that I was on. Figured I'd take a little detour. And all this is all completely wet. It doesn't look like it is, but it's pretty soaked. This is what I'm getting to play with. And one thing I would recommend doing for anybody, and this is just what I learned today, kind of sounds dumb, but like I said, I am learning. So I would recommend getting 2 tarps, one to sit on and to put all your equipment on, and the other one as a shelter. I, however, just have the 1 tarp from Walmart, and so I'm not going to put that up today because there's nowhere to sit. But I am still enjoying this. The reason why I came out was because it was raining. I wanted to test out my gear and see how well everything works in the rain. From what I understand, that's really the best way to kind of test your skills and see what you can do, learn from them. And one thing I would recommend too, this is a little tidbit from what I'm experiencing right now. Always have a sure way to create fire. As you can tell, everything is all green around here. There's not any dry grass or anything. And I mean, if I really needed to, I can cut some of these trees for the branches and stuff, but I don't know what kind of trees these are, or twigs or shrubs or anything. Look at this gnarly thing. Isn't that cool? There's the leaves on it. It's pretty neat. There's a buried stump. Yes! I made it across. Well, as you can tell, I got a little bit more soaked. Still having fun. All I got was my knees. I didn't realize that, oh man, I didn't realize that little creek was that deep. It's a pretty deep creek. I still got everything. I got my knife, my wallet, backpack. I did, however, lose the cantina. I'll be right back. All right. So, as you can tell, I lost this. And I don't know if it caught on camera or not, but it fell in the water again. I love playing with water. But, so this is a little soaked. The snaps just snapped off. They're still working alright. So, one thing I would recommend, and this is something that I'm putting in my personal journal. I usually when I do these videos, I write what I learned. And one thing I did learn is, and this is probably sounding like common sense, but I never would have thought about it until now. But anytime that you fall or anything like that, I would recommend standing up if you can, depending on how bad the injury is. But obviously I'm fine, so what I'd recommend doing is, after you fall down and you know you're okay, check your inventory before you walk off, because this would have still been down there if I didn't pose for the camera being all wet. But so that's one thing I just learned today. Never would have even thought about that. So always check your inventory. That way you're still in the immediate area and it's in your mind still real fresh of where you were, what happened. That way you can you know, make sure you find your equipment. That way it's not lost or anything like that. That's just a little tidbit right there that I just learned. Like I told you guys from the beginning, I'm still learning, so This may sound like common sense, but hey, hopefully you guys learned something like I did today. So I'm gonna go back on my journey here. It's still kind of raining, but not as bad. The storm's getting a little bit blacker towards the west over here. So I'm gonna go back on the trail, go through this little creek again, and then we'll keep proceeding on with our journey. So I'll be back with you guys in a bit. Hello everybody, so I'm back. It got pretty dark, and it was raining pretty hard out, so I didn't get to videotape my way back. But I had a lot of fun doing what I did today, and I learned a few things new. One of the things I learned is when you go out and stuff, you know, obviously have your tarp, but also have, if you don't want to get all dirty and everything and soaking wet, I'd recommend having something also to lay all of your equipment on, and also for you to sit on, whether it's another tarp like the one I got from Walmart, or even a 3mm bag or garbage bag or anything. That's one thing I did learn today. And so a lot of the stuff that I'm kind of going over might be common sense to most people, but you know, like I said, I am learning. Everything's new to me, so I'm just kind of showing my progress and what I'm learning. And I kind of figured that on these videos that I do of going out, at the end of the video I'd kind of like to reflect what I learned. And but anyways, so learned that. Also, if I was out in the middle of nowhere, or out hiking or camping, I wouldn't do what I did. Of going across that creek and getting wet. The only reason why I did is because that park, I've done a video about that park before, and the only reason why I did what I did was because my car is about a mile away, so it wasn't life-threatening or anything that I got wet. And the whole reason why I went out was just to kind of test my gear and see how well it did with the rain, because this is my first time ever using this in the rain, and it finally got rainy enough that I could test it out and see how it worked. And so that backpack that I have, it kept everything dry. And there's a few times that it did rain pretty good, so I'm very happy with that. And then back to another thing that I learned is like I was saying, if it's a situation where I'm in the middle of nowhere, I wouldn't have crossed that creek. I wouldn't have gotten wet, or more wet than I was. I would have, you know, put a shelter up or stayed underneath a tree or whatever I could have done to keep myself dry for the most part. But I wouldn't have gone across there, because you do risk the chance of like hypothermia, and it makes it a little bit more miserable when you're wet. And once again, that's the reason why I went out in the rain. I wanted to see, for one, I wanted to test my gear, like I said. Another reason why is because when I got wet, you know, I've been told a lot of times, and I've watched a lot of videos of people saying, you know, how miserable it can get when you get wet. I wanted to see how it felt, because I'm the kind of person that you can tell me something 100 million times and it just doesn't register. But if you show me it, or if I experience it, I don't remember, and so that's one of the reasons why I got wet on my legs and stuff. I just wanted to see what it felt like. So yeah, it's, that's one thing I learned, is try to stay as dry as you can. Another thing, and a lot of this stuff is probably common sense, but like I said, I am new, so just learning everything. I'm trying to have this kind of as a journal, so I learn from my mistakes, and hopefully other people do. And another thing you have to do too is you have to be extremely careful when you're dealing with the wet weather, because everything just gets slippery, and I mean everything. When I crossed that creek on that side where that log was, it's kind of like a little bit of an incline there, and I mean everything. I don't know how many times I slipped and not quite fallen, but how I slipped quite a bit, because everything was wet, even underneath the trees and shrubbery. And so that's another thing I learned, is just take extra caution when you're out there and playing in the wetness, just like I was. And it wouldn't hurt either just to have a walking stick. I couldn't tell you what kind of size, shape, or anything like that for your walking stick. It's just something that you want, something that'll kind of support you. But another reason why I was kind of remembering about the stick too is because where that log was, and there's actually a couple other logs I saw on the ground, and it looked like it was one of those areas that some kind of snake would be under. I mean, I don't know if they'd be out and about in the rain or not, but it just looked like the kind of area that they'd kind of take refuge or something. And it would have been nice to have a stick with me just to kind of poke the area a little bit, make sure there's nothing underneath them. Earlier in my journey, there's a rotten log that was on the ground, and on a nice sunny day it would have been nice punk wood, but that was just completely like a sponge. You take the piece in your hand, just squeeze it, and there'd just be water dripping out of it. So everything was definitely soaking wet out there. Another thing I would recommend too is, if you're out, have a little bit of knowledge of where you can find dry material. I thought, from reading books and watching videos, how I thought I knew where you could find some dry stuff, but there wasn't anything dry I could find around there. If I really had to, maybe I could have, but that's just speculation. I really don't know. But anyway, so I brought my backpack with me, and it's completely dry now. And even after that little fall, it stayed dry. My canteen, the Pathfinder one I brought. And that brings up another good point. We saw earlier how I fell in the water, and when I got back up, I didn't even realize that thing was off my backpack until I was posing for the camera. But that's one thing I would recommend doing too, is anytime that you fall or trip or anything of the sort, even if it's not in water, just if you fall down for something, if you're going over a log and fall down or something, I would recommend checking your gear right away. Make sure that you have everything, and then after that, then proceed with what you're doing. The reason why I say that is because if I wasn't posing for the camera and was messing around, I would have never known that canteen was off. and I would have been back in my car back home before I even realized that that was missing. So that's one thing I learned today too, is it's good to check your gear afterwards. So, and then I brought the navigator's pouch. I didn't get to really mess around with it today because of the situation of it being wet and not being able to find anywhere really dry to kind of sit down and mess around with it, so I didn't really use it. And then I also brought the knife, the mystery knife, and all I can say about this is I used it just for that one part where I was across the creek there and there's that stump, and I was showing you how wet that thing really was. And that's another thing I learned too, is when I looked at it, I was thinking to myself, all I have to do is just cut, little ways or scrape little ways on the spine of this, scrape off a little bit and it'll be dry. No, it wasn't. It was pretty wet. So I didn't really get to play with this today, but I will be one of these days later on when it dries on, or it's not raining outside. Again, I don't have a clue who did this. All I know it's Montana made. Here's the sheath for it, and it's meant for this knife. It was specifically designed for this knife. And the reason why I'm saying this is Montana is because right here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it says Montana America, or excuse me, Americana. Montana Americana. That's another thing I checked right away too, is after I fell and slipped, I made sure that my knife was in, and it stays in pretty nice right now. And I've had this for quite a few years, and I've never played around with it. I completely forgot I had it for a while until yesterday or today. What else have I learned? Another thing I've learned is, if you're just starting out like I am, what I would recommend doing is definitely going out when it's raining, if you can, if you get the chance. You learn a lot more in the situation of when it's wet, miserable. It wasn't miserable. I mean, I enjoyed it. I had a blast the whole time, even after I was wet. But just kind of, if you can, go out when it's like that. That way you can learn more, and then you can kind of know what to expect. And I mean, I've learned quite a bit today. I have a few notes. But that's really all that I learned today. This is just the equipment that I had. Everything that I did have inside the bag, like I said, I did make sure that it was Ziploc bagged. Just an extra piece of security, because I didn't know how this backpack would work in the rain. And then I used my jacket over there too, and that kept me dry too. I was surprised part of that got in the water, and the water just went right off of it. So it's pretty nice to see. Another thing that I'd recommend too is, even if you're out just doing a little day hike and stuff, I would recommend bringing extra clothing, depending on what you're doing. I didn't bring any clothes with me on this trip because, like I said, I was only a mile away from my car, so I didn't. But if you even decide to do a day hike, I would recommend bringing extra clothing. That way, if
for some reason, if you do have to cross a creek, you do what happened to what, or if what happens to you, what happened to me, of getting wet, then you can change right away and get dry. So that's pretty much it for what I've learned today, and thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video that I did, and hope you enjoyed the animals that I kind of caught on video. There's that deer, and the geese, and the crane, and the other couple birds that I saw. And even on my way back from where I was to the vehicle, I never did see any other animals. No birds. Didn't hear nothing. But I did have a good time, and thanks again, everybody. Thank you for watching, and hope you all like this video, and stay safe and have fun. Bye.